Are schools making kids dumber?
In the 1960s, NASA created a test to measure creative intelligence. They found that 2% of adults qualify as creative geniuses. And for children who've never gone to school, 98% qualify as creative geniuses. Every child is born a genius. But as they grow older, that natural ability fades away. Why is that?
Are we doing our best to prep our kids for the new world? Here's how parents like my husband and I are preparing our kids to thrive in the future and not just survive it. Keeping up with AI news has made one thing clear to me as a parent. The future is changing faster than what schools have to offer. And I'm not convinced that our kids are being prepared for a future that will still have a real place for them.
What if I told you that every single day kids go to school, they become less intelligent? There is so much more than just one type of intelligence. And while school can make you more academically intelligent, it is diminishing the children's creative intelligence. How did I, a straight C student, start a technology company at the age of 16? It must be something that can't be measured by academic intelligence alone.
There's no need even to have a college degree or even high school. If somebody graduated from a great university, that may be an indication that they will be capable of great things, but it's not necessarily the case. You know, if you look at, say, people like Bill Gates or Larry Ellison, Steve Jobs, these guys didn't graduate from college. But if you had a chance to hire them, of course, that would be a good idea.
By the end of this video, you're going to understand why doing well in school may no longer be enough, how AI is quietly changing what intelligence looks like, and what you can do at home to make sure your kid doesn't just keep up with the future, but thrive in it. The government curriculum system is falling short behind how fast the world is changing, in my opinion. So what I mean by that is curriculums take years to change, to approve, to implement. Like, it takes a long time. But when our world is changing year by year, month by month, how is a curriculum supposed to keep up with it? So again, in my opinion, I think we're very outdated with the stuff that we are learning. Unless if a child was expressing interest in history, or same with anything, history, or if I'm expressing that I love writing and I want to learn more about the English language and this and that, like, those are things that should be applied to children when the time is right. To be forced into it, it just doesn't sit well with me because it's going to go right over their heads, just like it did with me. Everything that I have learned in school, out the window. And when I hit post-secondary, they were prepping us for post-secondary. I felt very unprepared. So the system for me is very lagging in the fact that it just can't keep up.
Yeah, and to even mention post-secondary, more and more kids are not going to post-secondary. More and more kids are learning that there are so many more job opportunities and you can make so much more money and make actually life meaningful by not going to post-secondary. So, you know, my prediction that in about 10 years, like post-secondary, it's going to be a very, very niche thing. You know, they're going to cut down the programs, their staff's going to decrease. And I feel like they're really going to have to change their structure as well. When we know a lot of 18, 19, 20-year-olds are making way more money.
Yeah,
by
with
doing
way
online
less
businesses
debt.
with way less debt. And they're learning so much more. And they're, you know, they're being entrepreneurs by like 20 years old.
So to sum all that up, basically, in our minds right now, why would we let our kids fall into that trap of being outdated and learning things that aren't necessarily applicable in life anymore when they could be in their 20s making way more money than we are, making millions of dollars? Like, it just doesn't add up. Creativity will always win. And they're not learning, they're being stifled and compliant. And then that brings up another thing about like school and the whole socialization thing, this and that.
Yeah, let's briefly gloss over it a little bit. So when we tell parents we're going to homeschool kids, the most common thing that everyone says is, oh, how is your kid going to be socializing?
Okay, let's break that down. Socialization means communication, critical thinking, conflict resolution, decision making, how to communicate effectively when you're having a conflict. You know what I mean? Like, those are all socialization, communication skills. Is that even being taught in school? So when somebody says to me, oh, what about the socialization aspect? I'm like, what do you mean? That they have to get bullied and then they're going to have to emotionally figure it out themselves because they're too scared to talk to somebody as an adult? Like, it just, when you really think about it, I'm like, this is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard.
It takes one kid in a classroom to spoil the rest. How many times in our times when we went to high school, middle school, whatever, and there was that one kid that just made your whole semester, whole year, whole years miserable. Man, screw that kid.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that I should put my kid along with other parents who may don't know what they're doing with their kids, ruin my kid and their effing future?
That leads to another comment about socialization, and kids need to understand, like, oh, they need to know how to deal with bullies. You think that my 6, 7, 8-year-old needs to learn that being a bully is okay and they need to learn how to deal with it?
At
Nuh-uh.
6 years old?
They can barely even learn how to regulate their own emotions. And you think that now they have to take on some dumbass kid's emotions that they have to now absorb and be like, what's wrong with me? No, absolutely not. If we can avoid that, we will. And why would we ever consider that socialization in horrible aspects? Yes, they need to learn that not everyone is good. Yes, they need to learn that there are different people and different personalities. That's fine, but not now. Not in the early stages of their lives do they need to learn that bullies are going to be around and they are going to ruin their self-esteem like that.
Seriously.
Absolutely not.
Like, it takes one kid
Yeah.
to spoil your kid and their entire future. Now your kid is second guessing themselves their whole life.
Not that.
They're going to remember that moment.
If you've liked this video at all and you want to get more in depth, because we have a lot more to say about this, you'll definitely want to jump over to our Patreon where we go into further details and more in-depth conversations. So we hope to see you there.
All right, so we all know that classroom sizes are way too big, but do we really know the impact of having that many kids and one teacher? I don't know how one teacher can support 30 kids emotionally, mentally, and everything else.
When
And
we struggle to support 3 kids.
seriously, we struggle with 3
Emotionally.
kids. And it's just like they have so many questions and they require so much attention. Like, I just don't know how you can produce an intelligent individual in 30 kids. And what I mean by that is that as a parent, I often monitor how they think. And if I find that the way that they think doesn't really make sense, I try to help them out. Like, hey, have you thought about it this way? But when you're in a large classroom, teachers manage behavior first and understanding second, right? Because they have so many kids. So the teacher needs to make that everybody is in cooperation, alliance.
And I also feel like they don't really have time necessarily for each child's individual thoughts, right? Whereas like with our kids, it's they have a thought and it's like, wow, that's a really interesting way of thinking about it. So to have a classroom of 30 kids, again, it's just mind-boggling to think that that is a capability of one individual to help these 30 children.
Yeah. And sure, you know, a lot of people can say, oh, just do it at home. But do we really realize how many hours of our kids are in school? In the mornings, you're just rush, rush, rush. And then when you get back, you're grocery shopping, you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're doing all their bath on them, this and that. They don't really have that much time to spend with you every day to really get to know you or see how you operate. I feel like a teacher almost needs to be a children's second parent. That relationship they have be that close in order for our children to thrive in the school.
Which is very unrealistic, isn't it?
So unrealistic to ask out of teachers.
Yeah, and again, they can't do it with that many kids. So
Yeah, okay, well, let's move on to another topic. Another thing is that we often confuse confusion with compliance. So what I mean by that is, you know, think about in your situation when you were in middle school, high school, and you had a question. Did you ask it? Because I didn't. I often just nod and I just follow along. Why? Because I didn't have the self-confidence to let everybody else know that, hey, I don't know what's going on, so I'm going to ask. I'm just going to pretend like I know everything, and then I fail the test.
right.
And just hope for the best.
Well, and not only that though, too, like you think your question is very dumb, right? So you're like I don't want to ask it because I don't want to seem stupid in front of everybody else. So again, now you have a whole other issue of children having that confidence and being accepted by their peers, right? So that's a whole other concept that we have to deal with kids. But the point is, you're right. There's so many times in school that I had trouble asking questions too because I didn't want to seem like I didn't know all the answers. And that is a huge failure towards kids. Not that teachers can predict that, of course, but it is something that could be avoided if we could by not having so many kids.
If there wasn't so many kids, I would probably ask more questions and have that more interaction, you know what I mean? So the slow kids, like myself back in the day, we fall through the cracks. We struggle the most because we don't want to ask questions. We don't want to seem like the slow one. And I feel like that really held me back for many, many years. And so one teacher to 30 kids, and that is what's corrupting the school system right now.
Right. And so not only are teachers under the pressure of, hey, there's too many kids and you need to do better. Just want to say for clarity, this is not any harping on teachers specifically. It's more about the government curriculum and everything that is being taught and the pressures of teachers, because there is a lot. And I feel sorry for any teachers that are dealing with society today, because it's not easy. So another point that we have here is that options are treated as something that's not as a necessity, but it's just something as a bonus, where those options are very important life skills, right? Cooking, workshop, like those are all very important to know as a child and how to like move forward in life. So I just don't understand why there's social studies and writing essays. Like, why is that more important than life skills for kids?
Yeah. I remember one of my buddy was in the food class during high school. And I remember him just like, yeah, I remember a lot of them just like didn't take it seriously as well.
Of course, there is that. Yeah.
Even in my wood shop, I remember I didn't even take it that seriously. Well, now I know it's very important. So it kind of makes me think, okay, it's just like what is important?
I feel like that's part of the problem, because our options are like, ah, it's not that, it's just an option. I'll do
Right.
whatever. But because it's like expressed that way, right?
True.
If it was one of the necessary classes that you needed to take, I think you would take it a little more seriously.
That is true.
That also being said, everything was a joke. Like, I didn't take much seriously, to be honest with
Especially
you.
options. I remember that was like that was my break.
That was the easy class.
That was my break.
Right. I think if it was implemented that those are strong things that they need to know right now. And also, it's fun. And that's what school should be. Learning should be fun. It shouldn't be sit in a classroom, sit at your desk, be quiet, comply until I'm ready to talk to you.
We all know people who, when they graduated high school, ran down the steps on graduation day and threw their notes in the air and said, "No more school," and celebrated that. If you celebrated no more school, school failed at something. Half of what a school should do should get you to be enchanted and excited about learning so that you can become a lifelong learner when you leave school.
Yeah.
So-
All right, here's the next point. School confuses busyness with learning. A school program or curriculum is a packed full day. It's like you're going to travel and like your whole schedule is filled up day by day, week by week. And I think in the school terms, they think that, oh, if we just teach them something every day and keep them busy, that is a form of learning. Well, no, because you're just basically keeping a kid's brain occupied with a course, and you're teaching them how to be compliant because now you're following the schedule and you have these homework that you have to do.
The schooling system had one very intentional reason behind it in Prussia, and that was to turn out extremely patriotic, loyal, obedient soldiers. And the schooling system was 100% designed around that. They valued respect for authority over intelligently trying to problem solve and think your way through your own problems. They conditioned kids for boredom and monotony, made them sit in classrooms facing one direction for long periods of time with very little breaks, had bells to signal when it was a time that you were allowed to move from one place to another. Dark, boring hallways, prison-like buildings, standing in line, the inability to play outside of very specific hours, even PE, physical education, all designed to churn out like a factory a loyal, patriotic citizenry that was primed for war, soldiers.
And I don't think that memorization is a form of intelligence. And they teach that lots throughout schools is if you memorize this, memorize this whole essay, this and that, you are a smart kid. But to me, that's not what or intelligent is.
And not only that, kids can memorize and learn facts, but do they even actually know how to apply these facts? I can learn all I can about budgeting and how to negotiate and communications under pressure, but if you don't know how to actually apply them, it's all for naught.
And, I remember learning a lot about the Russian political system, communism, and I feel like there could have been a lot more that could have derived from that, but instead, it was like basically just like we learned it, had a couple tests, and that was it. But I feel like we could have really, really discussed more on communism, the goods and the bads, and really develop critical thinking. Spend that extra time to ask students critical questions, or like,
Not only that, I just don't know if they have the time. That's part of the problem.
or the kids even intellectually smart enough to even do that? Like again, like what does that all mean, right? It means that we are right now trying to prep our kids the best that we could in a future that has so much uncertainty, but the only certainty that we know is that creativity will always thrive.
Yeah, so here's a good saying. School says, follow the plan. Life says, the plan will change. And I really love that saying because it is 100% accurate. Like, why are we teaching all of these kids to follow suit and memorize and learn this and that when it's just like, that is not what the real world is about anymore?
Second of all, it's a good opportunity to reflect, to, really think about, yeah, like what's the next 5 years going to look like, right? 5 years is going to be the most different 5 years than history of mankind has ever seen. I recently saw a video of some robots in China from 2025, and the robots were basically like your general robots that you see in Star Wars, like R2D2 or whatever, like beep beep boop boop. They're just moving like this. And then they recently just uploaded a new video of robots that came out, and I'm sure you've seen, maybe you've seen it as well. But man, they're doing karate chops, they're doing backflips, front flips, running off the wall. Times are really, really changing fast, and once they incorporate, AI or AGI into that robot, oh my goodness, they are gonna be so crazy. It's scary, but also very, very cool. Because even my mom was joking about it yesterday. It's, oh, maybe I'll just buy a robot in the future and can clean the house for me and make me food and be my companion in the future or whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, mom, if that's what you want, like that sounds alright. And it can also protect you too and stuff like that.
If it doesn't turn on you.
Well, I mean, there's a risk with everything, right? And
iRobot is what I always think about.
I know
I've never even seen the movie, but I know the concept.
Such a good movie. It's basically just, again, here's the other thing. It feel kind of weird that, like, it seems like we're living in a movie. Doesn't it? Does anyone else feel like we're just living in a movie? With literal robots are coming in the next few years. With AI that is so much smarter than anybody else. And with just, we got this thing called Bitcoin that is just digital currency. And like, it just seems like we're just living in a movie. It's weird.
Interesting and scary.
I'm just going to wrap up with the last point before we move on. But right now, it's more important than ever for your kid to accelerate, to really mature right here faster. And how can they do that? Is to mimic someone like you or like ourselves. And what I mean by that is, like, they need to think clear, better, more efficient than ever at a younger age. And if they keep going to a school system, I just don't think they can have that same process, like that critical thinking process.
It's going
to get stifled. And that's why, I mean, homeschool is already on a rise, right? It went from 200,000 kids 50 years ago to almost 5 million now. And it's going to double in the next few years. More and more parents are going to homeschool their kids. And I love it that you want to learn from better than your parents is a great idea.
So as we know, here's a question. The world is changing faster than most of us can adapt to at this point. So what does the future even actually look like right now in your mind?
The future is very uncertain. Like, it's just the most uncertain we've ever felt. And I feel like everybody feels uncertain. We have food prices going up. We have house prices going up. We have insurance going up. Everything is going up. And it's just like, yeah, like, what does the world look like? And I think that is the uncertainty. What does the world look like? They're saying that 50% of white-collar jobs could be wiped out in the next 5 years. Your normal kind of like the backbone society jobs like truck drivers or like fast food workers, those jobs could be very much replaced. There's a lot of automated cars already. And again, like I said, robots are coming. And as soon as they can think themselves, they could do a lot of things as well. So the world's uncertain.
Keep getting more depressing. Keep going. Keep going.
The best you can do for your child is to learn more about where the world they're like headed to for the next 5-10 years and predict what kind of jobs are going towards that direction. And we keep harping on this, and you can check our last video as well, which talks about the damage of screen time, how it kills creativity. But a kid's creativity is like have never ever been more important.
I mean, it's always been important. We just never knew how important because it was always something that kids just automatically had. But now, not so much.
And it was never threatened.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
By an external force. Now everything, I feel like our meaning of life, our livelihood, everything's being threatened. And so what does it actually mean to be human? You know?
Yeah.
Is it to love? Is it creativity? Is it to invent? Is it to, like what does being human mean when these AI robots come?
Well, again, at least we have emotion.
Consciousness?
So let's stop with the depression now. Let's just say that. Like, instead of thinking of the depression, let's think of how the future can be bright. Like creativity, yeah, it's something that our kids need to learn, but just think of how beautiful it would be if the world was full of creativity. Like, just think of a creative world. Like, I know we're in a creative world, but amplified times 10 because we have no other choice. But, like, it could be a very beautiful world to live in. So there is that. Look forward to that.
There's a lot of positive as well. So, okay, well, let me ask you a question now. For those parents who are watching, biting their nails on the edge of the seat and be like, OMG, what the frick am I gonna do? They have jobs, like you guys, you have jobs that you have to go to and you gotta keep lights on and this and that. How is any parent, single parent, can best prep their kids for the future? It's coming so fast at us.
We are really trying to implement a lot of creative things within our kids. We stick them outside with minimal toys. We let them come up with their own ideas. We give them a lot of art and craft supplies so that they can draw and come up with fun stories. And like, even our oldest, she will tell fun stories about her drawings, and that's great. So we do that. And then also, again, when people ask me like, oh, is your daughter going to be in school this year? And I'm like, because she's going to be 5. I'm like, well, first of all, kids should not be learning in school till they're at least 6. Kindergarten is not mandatory in Alberta. And I think with that decision alone, we would not put her in at all, because she would learn way more stuff with us. She would have a lot more personal touches from each of us, and really getting her to express her interests. And we'll be able to pick those up a lot easier than someone in school who will not recognize those. So, yeah, so for us, not going into school, which sounds crazy. But yeah, our kids, if we can avoid school, we will.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
what would your comments be on that?
Letting a kid be creative, which means messes, which means tough for parents.
Oh, that's so hard.
Yeah, just let a kid be free, and yeah, a lot less. I feel like a huge part of creativity is just letting them kind of be who they are, and that's really tough because like you have a thought of who you kids are gonna be, and so you really try not to nag as much as possible
/ who you want them to be.
who you want them to
Yeah.
be. And so, yeah, we've really tried to like focus within ourselves. And yeah, and when they ask stupid questions, think it through with them, give them your perspective. Don't ever let a stupid question be annoying or let them know that's annoying. Like keep them asking, answering as stupid as they are, and make them think a little bit too. One of the things that we do, right, is if we think the answer is obvious, we just retort back to them and be like, well, what do you think? So yeah, just let them be them. And I know for a lot of people that's really tough.
Well, especially when we have judgment from our parents or the outside world, right? I mean, that makes it extra hard because they think, wow, your kids are obnoxious, or like, why are you letting them do that? It's like, because honestly, it's not that big of an issue for me. Like, if they are bouncing around, running around, screaming, I mean, screaming gets a little much, but like,
Yeah,
you know what I
screaming,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
letting them be who they are as much as possible. And it's so hard for us guys. It is not. We are always choosing the harder route. Probably, but we know better than that. And we are taking the harder route, and that is what's going to win. Taking the harder route. Nothing good comes from easy. Period.
Teach your kids how to think independently is so more important than ever, guys. Like, man, and to give them that confidence, right? Give them the confidence to just be like, here are my thoughts. Here's why. I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? Like, of course, keep it open-minded and I'll listen to other people. Even the trip when you're just going to a grocery store, right? Think to yourself, okay, how can I best spend my quality time with my child right now, even though we're just going to a grocery store? Maybe teach your kid how to read ingredients. Maybe teach your kid how to count during it and promote a lot of critical thinking. And say, oh, do you think this is best or this is best? Teach him about math and be like, oh, I wonder how much it is per unit. When you go to Costco, they always say dollar per unit, but use whatever time you have with your child the best that you can when it comes to creativity and critical thinking and just help them imagine. I guess that's something the parent itself have to learn first. Because again, a lot of us are stifled. One more thing is, man, kick your kids outside. Like, it's crazy how you just kick them outside for half an hour to an hour and just let them do their thing. It's crazy what kind of games they come up with or like how they can have fun. Again, it's just like, just don't give them everything. Challenge them. You know, if I gave you a bucket, what can you do with that bucket? You know, if I just gave you a few things, a few toys, like what can you do with it? So again, like really, really, really challenge them in many ways possible. So yeah, I would say that's our advice. The one thing you control is yourself and your children around you and the family that you love. It's more important now than ever to just hold those who are close really tightly to you. And yeah, don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. The future is bright, of course, but right now we're just going through some rough times. And so thank you for watching this video. If you want to learn more about screen time and how it affects your kids, click on the video right here, and we'll see you next time.